selection show. Duke is the #1 seed. And Central Florida, Virginia Commonwealth are going to be the top 2 seeds. I'm just looking for the code.
The Bulldogs of Mississippi State. Bulldogs have 8 quad 1 wins. Those are wins against quality teams based on location. And the Bulldogs, a #5 seed, seems to go well with their leader right now. I betcha. Who are they going to play? They're going up against the Liberty Flames out of the Atlantic Sun. They won a share of the regular season Atlantic Sun title with Lipscomb, then went on to defeat Lipscomb in the tournament finals. Continuing, the second team out of the Atlantic Coast Conference is Virginia Tech. The Hokies, the #4 seed in the East, 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances for the first time in school history.
So Duke is the #1 seed.
They're happy as could be, and they're going to face the Pelicans of St. Louis, the #13 seed, and the second team out of the Atlantic 10. So it'll be Virginia Tech against St. Louis. First and second round matchup in Jacksonville, Florida on Thursday and Saturday. The #6 seed in the East, the Terrapins of Maryland out of the Big Ten. Coach Mark Turgeon and the 4th youngest team in Division I. They will play the winner of the first 4 game in Dayton, Ohio on Tuesday between Belmont, the Bruins from the Ohio Valley, and from the American Athletic Conference.
And they should be happy. Everybody should be happy that Belmont got in. They deserve to get in. Kudos from the committee for reaching out to them, and also have a friend up here making the NCAA tournament.
Yes, sir. All right, the #3 seed in the East, the second team out of the SEC, the LSU Tigers. They still have to deal with off-court situations with their coach, Will Wade. Tony Benford filling in as the head coach, the interim head coach. They will meet the Yale Bulldogs from the Ivy League. They won a share of the regular season title with Harvard, then went on to beat the Crimson in the Ivy League tournament championship game. Now, first and second round action in Des Moines on Thursday and Saturday will feature these teams. The #7 seed, Louisville, the 3rd team out of the Atlantic Coast, where Jordan Wara led the Cardinals in scoring and rebounding. He'll be on display, and they will go up against the second team out of the Big Ten Conference, the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. Coach Richard Pitino saw his team upset second seed Purdue in the Big Ten tournament before losing to Michigan in the tournament semifinals. And the last teams in the East, the 3rd team out of the Big Ten, Michigan State Spartans. So what a gutsy performance they put on in the Big Ten championship.
It sure was, and maybe a little bit of surprise to some people that they are not the #1 seed, so they end up on the 2 line, which means if you're North Carolina, Tennessee, or Gonzaga, you're feeling a little bit better about your chances. Not all of them will be 1 seeds, but Michigan State obviously will not.
And nobody's playing better than the Spartans. All they've gone through, the way they performed to win a conference regular season championship and conference tournament championship, outstanding.
All right, who do Spartans take on? Out of the Missouri Valley Conference, the #15 seed Bradley Braves. They beat Northern Iowa to win their first Missouri Valley Conference tournament title in 31 years. They come in with a 9-9 conference record, 20-14 overall. They will meet Michigan State. So take a look at that bracket and tell me what you see.
Well, I see a team well, you take a look at Duke, obviously, but VCU, the 8-9 games are always intriguing. But this Liberty team, I've watched the Liberty Flames for all season long. They shoot the 3, they're balanced, they're aggressive. That will be a challenging matchup for Mississippi State.
Why waste time? Liberty beats Mississippi State. That's my first upset pick. How about a potential Duke Virginia Tech Sweet 16 matchup? That would be an ACC rematch from the regular season. Remember, Virginia Tech beat Duke when they didn't have Zion, and Virginia Tech will be at full strength with their point guard, Justin Robinson. And then I think hopefully we are destined for a Duke Michigan State regional final. That will be a terrific treat. Watch out for you. I know you love them.
Oh, I really like the Bulldogs.
Dangerous 14 seed. What do you think?
Outstanding scoring team. Average 80 points a game. 5 guys average double digits. They got size. And then Miaoni, they've got one of the outstanding scorers and players in college basketball. That'll be a tough test for LSU.
I also think Belmont gets Temple and Maryland.
All right, guys, you can play the official bracket game of NC.
Yeah, and we're loading the bracket page up. First section, we've got Mississippi State, Liberty, the Belmont Temple game, Yale, LSU, Louisville, Minnesota, the first region of the bracket. has been filled out. And I'm going to start making some picks here because I have Duke winning it all. Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, Cameron Reddish, the depth, the talent. I have Duke winning it all. Spoiler alert. Sorry to burst your bubble, but Duke is my team to win it all this year. So I'm going to go ahead and put Duke in the comments section here. While the commercials are going on, we're going to fill out the first bracket to save time. Set Virginia Commonwealth versus Central Florida. I don't know who to pick here. Honestly, I'm going to go with Virginia Commonwealth. Mississippi State Liberty. You bet I'm taking the Liberty Flames. I'm also taking St. Louis Billikens. I like Maryland over Belmont or Temple. I'm tempted to take Yale over LSU, but we're going to go with the LSU Tigers. They managed to barely pull this one out. Then we've got Michigan State, Louisville, and Minnesota. And the Michigan State Spartans. So we've actually filled out the first quadrant of games. So in on a typo. So that is the first round of 32. We're still in a commercial waiting for the next bracket. Yeah, I've got the St. Louis Billikens over Liberty. I've got Maryland in my Sweet 16, and I've got Michigan State. All right, you guys, we're gonna have to
Cavaliers are going to the South region. It's the 7th time they have been a #1 seed. You know what happened to them last year? They'll try not to repeat.
Anticipating a much longer stay in this year's tournament for the Cavaliers.
All right, so the #1 seed in the South is Virginia. These first and second round games will take place in Columbia, South Carolina on Friday and Sunday. The Cavaliers are the 4th team out of the Atlantic Coast Conference, and they will meet 16th seed Gardner-Webb. The running Bulldogs out of the Big South will be Radford.
I think it'd be hilarious if Virginia lost to
He's outstanding. The freshman Jose Perez. This team worked their way through road games in the conference tournament to win the opportunity to be in the field, and they are tough-minded and fun to watch.
Congrats to the running Bulldogs of Gardner-Webb. All right, the 8-9 game in the South. The 3rd seed out of the Southeastern is the Rebels of Ole Miss. Coach Kermit Davis, in his first year at Ole Miss, named SEC Coach of the Year. They will meet out of the Big 12 the Oklahoma Sooners, the #9 seed, 6 NCAA tournament appearances in the last 7 seasons.
Probably on the friendly side of the bubble, so not a surprise. But one of those power conference teams that was under 500 in its league We'll see when we find out the second first four pairing how they divvied up between the power conferences and the mid-majors.
All right, these are first and second round games in San Jose on Friday night and Sunday. The fourth team out of the Big Ten, the Badgers of Wisconsin. Ethan, half 15th player in Big Ten history.
Wisconsin's in the next bracket. So the Wisconsin Badgers.
They will meet the Oregon Ducks, the number 12 seed, first team in our brackets here tonight out of the Pac-12. Oregon returns in 4 games in 4 days to capture the Pac-12 tournament champion.
Very impressive in that championship win over Washington.
All right, moving on down. The second team out of the Big 12, Kansas State, the Wildcats, who want to share the Big 12 regular season title. 25-8 on the season and 14-4 in the Big 12.
Not sure if Dean Wade's going to be able to go. You see him right there, bottom right, with that boot on his foot. Be interesting to see if he has a chance. He actually missed the part of the tournament last year as well.
They will play the number 13 seed out of the Big West, UC Irvine's Anteaters. They won the Big West regular season and tournament title, and Buck Kellogg likes them a lot.
I really do. I like the way this team defends and rebounds. Style, but they're efficient at the offensive end. The Anteaters are positioned to do some damage this season.
All right, we move on down the South Region bracket. These are first and second round games to be played in Hartford on Thursday and Saturday. First team out of the Big East on our board, the number 6 seed, Villanova Wildcats. Coach Jay Wright in his 16th NCAA tournament, 3 straight Big East tournament titles. They edged out Seton Hall from the Big East regular season title as well. So the Villanova Wildcats all set to make an appearance in Hartford beginning on Thursday. They will go up against the 11th seed St. Mary's Gales out of the West Coast Conference, who upset the nation's number 1 team, Gonzaga, to win the West Coast Conference Tournament Championship. And the Gales don't look like they're finished quite yet.
So if you're looking for bubble teams, they usually go into the 11 and the 12 seeds. We've got 2 conference champions there in St. Mary's and Oregon. So it doesn't look like this is a bubble mystery revealed in this region.
All right, the number 3 seed. And the 5th team out of the Big Ten, the Purdue Boilermakers, who want to share in the Big Ten regular season title. They come into the NCAA tournament having won 14 of their last 17 games.
Outstanding job this season by Matt Painter and his staff.
They will take on the number 14 seed Monarchs of Old Dominion out of Conference USA regular season and tournament champion. Now,
I'm honestly leaning Old Dominion over Purdue.
And on Sunday, our 3rd team out of the American Athletic Conference, the Bearcats of Cincinnati. They won the American Athletic Conference tournament title, beating top seed Houston.
I can't believe Cincinnati is a 7th seed. That is very low, especially considering their win today.
All right, they will take on the Iowa Hawkeyes, another team out of the Big Ten. The Hawkeyes 22-11 on the year, 10-10 in a very tough Big Ten conference.
Going back to that Cincinnati comment, I don't think they'll mind heading to Columbus, though.
They have home court those 2 games.
Number 2 seed in the South, the Tennessee Volunteers out of the SEC, our 4th team out of the SEC. Coach Rick Barnes did a good job this year. He fell a little bit short in the SEC title game.
Yeah, listen, I think they still deserve to be a 1 seed. Their losses compared to the other 1 seed candidates.
Yeah, I like Tennessee in this bracket. Van Ransom, your Vols are going to the Final Four, Dad. I know you're up in heaven or purgatory or hell or wherever you're at, Dad, but Tennessee's going to be in the Finals Four. They are my Final Four pick. I've already decided Duke and Tennessee are going to be my 2 Final Four teams. Because even if Virginia gets to the Sweet 16, I think they'd lose to a team like Wisconsin or a team like Kansas State.
All right, so we go back to the top and we do our review. Villanova, you think coming to this tournament with a bit of a purpose?
Tell you what a job Jay Wright did. When you talk about what they lost from a year ago, the leadership of Pascal and Booth, really a huge part of the development of their young players to win both regular season and conference championships. Again, remarkable work, outstanding effort by the Wildcats.
Historically, you look for the 12 seeds and the 13s to pull first-round upsets, and I think that's what happens here. I think Oregon beat Wisconsin and UC Irvine. You talked about Dean Wade being hurt for Kansas State, so they're a little bit in a weak spot there. So I like those 2 teams.
Well, 12s are 16-24 in the last 10 years in this tournament.
All right, let's slide on to the second half of the South Region bracket. We talked about Villanova and Purdue, who both something to prove.
Yeah, definitely. This Old Dominion team has won a number of close games. They've got a nice dynamic duo, and Ahmad Carcaver and also B.J. Stiff. But I like what Purdue is capable of doing. Good size up front, and Carson Edwards is dynamic.
A couple of geographic quirks. If it's Villanova and Purdue, Purdue is the higher seeded team, but the game isn't hard for a little bit of a home court advantage. And you talked about Cincinnati and Columbus. If they get Tennessee in the second round, Cincinnati's already hard enough to beat without all those Bearcat fans put in your hometown. So that's an interesting wrinkle in the geography.
All right, guys, we have several teams still on edge and getting their fate, including the Mountain West champions Utah State, along with Wofford and Gonzaga, Murray State, as well as the Mid-American Conference champs, Buffalo, and Marquette. The field is almost set. That means it's time for brackets. Play with friends and compete for a trip to next year's Final Four. Download the CBS Sports app to start playing now. Look at a few teams happy to be in the big dance. Coming up, we reveal the Midwest region of the selection show continues live here on CBS.
Friday, crispy bacon, brioche bun. The brunch burger is a win because now I can have brunch whenever I want.
So real brunch champions.
Oh, you're referring to these old things?
No, I was afraid of the burger.
Sonic's Brunch Burger or Quarter Pound Double Cheeseburger at Tots for $2.99. And try order ahead to get happy hour anytime.
It's taking over. There's no escape.
Yeah, I like Old Dominion over Purdue as a 14 seed. I mean, Purdue does have some talent. This could be, but I'm going to take Old Dominion in an upset just for the hell of it. And then we've got Cincinnati and Tennessee. I think this is the Elite Eight right here. I think Cincinnati is going to be Tennessee's toughest opponent, if I'm being completely honest.
Marriott, 30 hotel brands, endless experiences, rewards,
Virginia Cavaliers, Wisconsin Badgers. So we've got our next round of picks. I've even taken the liberty of getting all the Sweet 16 content up for.
Talk about Oreo overload. Try one before they're gone. And try order ahead to get happy hour anytime. If you have the talent and dedication to succeed in school and in sports, we'll provide the opportunity.
And I'm going to go Wisconsin over Virginia.
Is Utopia this wealthy though? Tonight.
Welcome back to Studio 43 here in New York City. We're halfway through our unveiling of the 68-team field. For the other half, we now move to the lower right quadrant. Continue our reveals, return on brackets from the NCAA and its corporate champion AT&T. The third
All right, so
the Tar Heels are going to the Midwest region, and for the 17th time, the most all time in any school has been a #1 seed. And by the way, all three of Roy Williams' titles came as a #1 seed. 4 this year. These are first and second round games in Columbus, Ohio on Friday and on Sunday. North Carolina's Heels, the number 1 seed, they'll take on the Iona Gales out of the Metro Athletic Conference. They won the MAC Tournament Championship. The first team out of the Mountain West is our number 8 seed, Utah State's Aggies, who won the Mountain West Tournament title. Sam Merrill, the Mountain West Player of the Year. So yes, they're both.
They are really both. They can score. They're excellent defensively and on the glass, and they bring it for 40 minutes every time. I tell you, Sam Merrill is one of the outstanding all-around guards in the country. He scores it, he passes it, and he's an underrated defender as well.
They're an 8 seed. Who's the 9 seed? They're going to take on out of the Pac-12, the Washington Huskies. 26-8 on the year. They won the Pac-12 regular season title. Moved on to the Pac-12 tournament finals before losing to Oregon. But the Huskies are clearly 3 in the Pac-12 on the year. Now, first and second round games to take place in Salt Lake City on Thursday and on Saturday. The 5th team out of the SEC, the Auburn Tigers. Bruce Pearl's squad rose up and won the SEC Tournament Championship first time since 1985.
Impressive last couple of weeks run for the Auburn Tigers. Very impressive what they did today. Start to finish, dominated that game.
Okay, from the Western Athletic Conference, they're going to meet the number 12 seed, the Aggies from New Mexico State, who ran away with the WAC regular season title and overwhelmed Grand Canyon in the WAC Tournament Championship game, 30-4 on the year for New Mexico State. The 3rd team out of the Big 12 is the 4th seed, and that's the Kansas Jayhawks. Coach Bill Self, 21 straight NCAA tournament appearances.
Kansas a 4th seed, but in the Midwest, which means if they get out of the first weekend, they're playing in Kansas City as a home game. Interesting decision. That's going to be a point of conversation. If they're out of home, and I'm not sure they will be.
All right, they'll play the number 13 seed, the Huskies out of Northeastern.
Northeastern Huskies are playing Kansas. My mom's dream matchup. We lived in Kansas. I honestly am leaning Northeastern. I think this is Kansas's weakest team in years.
First and second rounds take place in Tulsa on Friday and on Sunday. 4th team out of the Big 12, Iowa State's Cyclones, the number 6 seed. They won their 2nd Big 10 tournament or Big 12 tournament title in 3 years. They beat Kansas, and they will meet number 11 seed Ohio State's Buckeyes, the 7th team out of the Big 10. Coach Chris Holtman has led the Buckeyes to the NCAA tournament in his first 2 years.
It's a local team, man. Clark, you want to take it? Thrilled to see the Buckeyes there as a double-digit seed. They'll have their hands full with this high-octane Iowa State team. As a matter of fact, I think Iowa State team is a dark horse to break up the bracket because of how they can score and what they showed defensively here in winning the Big 12 championship.
Okay, the number 3 seed, we have our 4th team out of the American Athletic, and the Houston Cougars. Coach Kelvin Sampson leading the Cougars to a school record 31 win, 29 in the regular season, 31-3 overall. They won their first conference regular season title since 1992. They'll meet number 14 seed Georgia State, the Panthers, out of the Sun Belt. And we saw the kind of excitement they can bring to the ball.
Yeah, they shoot the 3, 40% from the 3, and they've got 5 guys that shoot over 40% from 3-point range.
All right, let's round out this Midwest bracket. First and second round games in Jacksonville on Thursday and Saturday. Watford's Terriers out of the Southern Conference come into the tournament on a 20-game win streak, winning the Southern.
Pretty good team there. I thought they'd be in that neighborhood. How about you, Seth?
That's on the north end of the neighborhood, but okay, that's a pretty respectable neighborhood.
Yes, it is.
I'm glad the committee had that much respect for Walford. They certainly earned it.
And you guys also feel they'll be great representatives.
Yeah, they would have, no doubt. Outstanding team. And Fletcher McGee have one of the most lethal 3-point shooters, but he's not alone. There's a good team there, the Terriers.
All right, they're going to meet the number 10 seed Pirates of Seton Hall, the 2nd team out of the Big East. Top 25 wins over Kentucky, beat Marquette twice, and Bill Miller. That's part of their resume.
And in Miles Powell, they've got a guy, little fellow who's dynamic, putting the ball in the basket.
And the last matchup in the Midwest region, the 6th SEC contender, the Kentucky Wildcats, the number 2 seed. For how many weeks did we have them pegged as a number 1 seed?
Right in the neighborhood. And again, we talked about it all month long, really. The top 8 pretty solidly distinguished, and it was just a matter of which line those 8 were going to fall on.
Tied for second during the SEC's regular season. They will meet the 15th seed Wildcats of Abilene Christian out of the Southland Conference. They beat New Orleans in the Southland Tournament Championship. Abilene Christian comes in with 27-6. So back to the top of the Midwest region. supposedly ruled by North Carolina. What do you think?
Well, I tell you, I'm looking ahead to potential Utah State North Carolina matchup in that second round. That would be a tantalizing 1-8 matchup. Utah State has size. They've got scoring. I think that would be a really intriguing matchup there.
I think a very dangerous team here is New Mexico State. I love teams that have won all year. They're 30-5, 15-1 Chris Kansas clubs. I think they actually will beat Kansas in the second round to make it to the Sweet 16. So we're not going to have that fun.
Bottom half of the bracket. You can't ignore Kentucky.
No, you certainly can't. You cannot ignore Kentucky, nor can you ignore Seton Hall.
Yeah, and Kentucky could play Seton Hall in the second round, but I actually like Wofford to beat Seton Hall in that game, and that'd be a great match.
And we've got the next bracket filled up. We've also got our Elite Eight matchup of Wisconsin and Tennessee.
A couple of teams still waiting to find out where they're going, including Prairie View A&M, the Texas Southern, playing the Southwestern Athletic Conference title, along with Gonzaga.
I like Utah State. I'm honestly going to have some fun with this bracket. Everyone's disrespecting Auburn, but I like Auburn over. And I'm going to do something unconventional. I think this Kansas team is the worst Kansas team I have seen in years. They might beat Northeastern, but I don't think they are a dangerous Kansas team. So I'm going to go with the Northeastern Huskies to pull the upset over Kansas. I want to see Bill Self lose to Northeastern. He's not as epic as Roy Williams. I want to see him lose to Northeastern. I think a lot of bracket busting is going to take place in this bracket. This is the bracket where I see the most bracket busting. I'm going to go Iowa State over my Buckeyes to show I'm not completely biased towards my teams. Houston Cougars.
And this is a Rose do it right playbook. All right, Matt. Tell us what you see here. Notice how he's working the cut grass back onto the lawn. He knows that instead of going into a bag, it can act as a fertilizer and strengthen his yard. He's not agreeing.
Yes, so I'm going to look here.
Yardsmanship is not dead, folks. Not by a long shot. Grasping out to a power quick. Look, shop now. Save on the spring trim. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's.
Nelson, you smell great. And no sweat either. Wow, you're the new team captain.
Decree Advanced Protection. Ultimate protection activated every time you move. Decree. It won't let you down.
The Utah State Aggies, the Auburn Tigers. So we've got 8 versus 5, and then we've got the Maryland. Iowa State's going to be my 6th seed, and I've got Wofford. I think Wofford's a dangerous team. And I like Iowa State and Auburn.
Unfortunately, anything about that. Now that you know the truth, are you in good hands?
Get live interactive radar in the palm of your hand. Download the KDKA weather app now.
For 1-3 brackets down, 1 to go. Several fan bases still waiting to see where and if their teams make it into the field of 68. So let's get to it. Here's the final region of the tournament brackets from the NCAA and its corporate champions as we reveal the West region. The 4th overall #1 seed is Gonzaga. The Bulldogs, a #1 seed in history for the 2nd time in the last 2 years.
Interesting that on the overall, Carolina is ahead of down to the pool, even though Carolina lost in the semis of the ACC tournament. That surprises me a little bit.
The Bulldogs, who are there every single year and tough out in the tournament at all times. All right, let's talk first and second round action in Salt Lake City in the West. These are Thursday and Saturday games. Gonzaga, the top seed, they will meet the winner of the first 4 game in Dayton on Tuesday between the Knights of Fairleigh Dickinson out of the Northeast. The Knights go back to the NCAA tournament by beating St. Francis in the NEC tournament finals. They will meet in Dayton the Panthers of Prairie View A&M out of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Panthers going to their first NCAA tournament since 1998 after winning the SWAC tournament title.
That's a high-scoring, explosive group. Doesn't have a lot of size, but they've got a lot of firepower.
All right.
I think Duke Gonzaga is probably going to be one of the Final Four games.
Coach Jim Boeheim, 34 NCAA tournament appearances. They will meet the 9th seed Baylor Bears, the 5th team out of the Big 12. Baylor 19-13 on the year. First and second round games in Hartford, Connecticut on Thursday and Saturday. Our third Big East team is the Golden Eagles of Marquette. Big East regular season title finished 1 game behind the Wildcats, and the Golden Eagles, as the number 5 seed in the West, are ready to go. Who do they meet? They'll have a little bit of a task. The second team out of the Ohio Valley, the Racers of Murray State, share the regular season Ohio Valley Conference title with Belmont and then beat them in the tournament final. So Murray State, 57-4.
So they get John Moran against Marcus Howard, which is great. But the important thing here to know is, again, both teams going to the 11 and the 12 seed, which means we're still waiting on those last two teams in the first 4. They'll be on the 11th seed when we slide this bracket.
Number 4 seed in the West, the 7th team out of the ACC, the Seminoles of Florida State. After a 1-4 start in conference play, boy, they just reeled off all kinds of things.
I think that Gonzaga comes out of this region, but if somebody else, if there's a dark horse for me, it's the Florida State Seminoles. Deep, athletic. And the only question is, can they make enough shots when they need to? But that's a team that you got to keep an eye on. Very dangerous.
Who are they playing? They're playing the Catamounts of Vermont out of the America East and the number 13 seed in the West region. 2 NCAA tournament appearances in the last 3 seasons for Vermont. Comes in at 27-6 on the year. Now, first and second round games in Tulsa on Friday and Sunday. From the Mid-American, Buffalo Bulls, the number 6 seed. They won the Mid-American regular season and tournament championships.
The highest seed for a team from the MAC since the field expanded. No team has been seeded higher than it before. Awesome work and well done by the blue-collar Bulls from Buffalo.
All right, first 4 game in Dayton, Ohio on Wednesday. Who will they meet? It'll be a matchup between the Sun Devils of Arizona State, number 11 seed, and the 3rd Pac-12 team in the tournament.
Chris Mullen and Bobby Hurley. It was a long wait to get to this point in the show, but you are in the tournament. Those are the last 2 at-large teams in the tournament.
Chris Mullen took St. John's to 4 NCAA tournaments as a player. Gets into their first tournament since 2015. The number 3 seed in the West, the Red Raiders of Texas Tech in the 16 out of the Big 12. First regular season title since 1996 when they played in the Southwest Conference. So Texas Tech on their way.
One of my favorite players in the country, Jared Colford, leads the Red Raiders.
And number 14 seed in the West, Apple Horizon League, Northern Kentucky. The North be top seeded Wright State to win the Horizon League Tournament Championship. Now, first and second round games in Des Moines, Iowa on Thursday and Saturday. The number 7 seed, the Wolfpack of Nevada. Won the Mountain West regular season title. They're the second team out of the Mountain West.
Yeah, Nevada's a very dangerous 7 seed in this bracket.
In the West, our 7th SEC team.
They've got the Porter twins coming back. I think Nevada.
The number 2 seed, the Michigan Wolverines, came up just short in the Big Ten.
I'm probably going to pick Nevada over Michigan. I think they're a spoiler team in this bracket. I think Texas Tech and Gonzaga are the 2 best teams, but I'm going to go with.
Out of the Big Sky, Montana won the Big Sky regular season and tournament championship, and terminated this tournament with a record of 26-8. So there is your field, and let's go back to the top and take a look and see who Gonzaga has to contend with down the road.
Well, Florida State is in that region, as you can see. And again, the Seminoles dangerous. This Vermont team has been outstanding for several years, and good to see them back in the tournament.
Yeah, interesting. A couple of the power conference teams who did not get in TCU, Texas, and NC State. So the committee did value some of these mid-major candidates. I think this is a pretty good path for Gonzaga. They lost to Florida State in last year's tournament, but that was the one where Killian Tilly got hurt. And then as far as the bottom half of this bracket, I think Buffalo is the team to watch. I just think Texas Tech is playing so well right now. Clark scoring the ball. I actually like Texas Tech to beat Michigan in the Sweet 16, go to the Elite Eight, lose to Gonzaga.
Okay, I hear you. You got it mapped out. That's what a bracketologist does.
All right, guys, the bracket's now complete. We turn our attention to the teams that barely made the field and the teams that barely missed the field. Belmont, Temple, Arizona State, St. John's. Pretty accurate from what we predicted earlier.
No question. I mean, you have probably 8 to 10 teams that you're looking at for probably 3 to 4 spots. And these teams were all in that conversation. And it becomes a matter of what the committee chooses when they go into the voting booth. And no issues at all here because, again, when you get as Seth likes to always say, if you played yourself into that position, then there's not really much room for you to whimper and complain.
And teams that were close but not making the tournament, UNC Greensboro, Alabama, TCU, and Indiana. So.
Yeah, and again, those teams all lost a considerable number of games in their own power conferences. UNC Greensboro, the fact that it looks like, I don't know if they're the first team out, but they're even on this list, a great accomplishment for them. Just not enough quality wins. So I think the committee basically, kind of split the difference here. They got Belmont in, but they did not reach as deep into the power conference well as maybe some people were expecting. I think that's I'm sorry for those teams that didn't get in.
Sure. No,
but I think that's a good strategy, good place to land where they did.
You have no argument for it.
None at all. Because, again, there's a thin line. But when you're looking at the teams that were in that last 4 in, last 4 out conversation, I think the committee landed in the right spot.
All right, here's how the conferences broke down, the ones that earned multiple bids, and here's how it looks. 8 teams out of the Big Ten, 7 out of the ACC, 7 out of the SEC, and then the Big 12 is next with 6. That's pretty much the way you guys thought it would be.
I'm looking at my notes from earlier today, and I had it about that way in terms of the Power 6, clearly, when you take a look at what transpired there.
Now, 7 non-Power 6 teams earned at
Yeah, but we'll go back to that list of the teams that did get in when you talk about Oregon and St. Mary, West Coast Conference, and then DCU losing in the A-10. So those were 3 spots. Right. That graphic that we showed up, those teams would have been in the field for those results. That's why it's watching.
All right, guys. Time to take time out to play Infinity Bracket Pool Challenge, where every registered bracket.
Yeah, but I'm going to go Murray State over Miss State.
Timeout.com. What's next? We'll talk live with the man who oversaw this year's selection process, the chair of the NCAA Men's Basketball Selection Committee. Step aside for joyous celebration.
Another night, another delivery. Another day, another dollar.
I know all the best restaurants. I know all the best restaurants.
We also give you a little taco. It's the best taco place in town. Hey, Jose! This place is known for the great breakfast. Take it. I take it. But March is a whole different animal. March Ransom. Non-stop this time of year. Make everyone get that taco on their football. You know, one of my best customers just figured out how to take the firewall off to watch the game and work. I'm already a note to the manager, but the team that made the Final Four, that's me. Fish taco, organic Creole spun, hell, salad, California roll, miso soup, beautifully nuanced dance of chicken. I take the food on your plate, off your plate. I put food on your plate. Randy Washington. Randy delivers. Yeah, Randy, come on, baby.
You're in the state attorney general's office. I do. Something that I need to return. Like 10 of these. I want them in the cell. I do.
Welcome back, everyone. Here's a look at the top 4 seeds by region. As you take a look, Duke and Michigan State leading the way in the East, Gonzaga and Michigan in the West. Over in the South, you got Virginia and Tennessee, along with Purdue and Kansas State. And in the Midwest, North Carolina is the top seed, Kentucky, Houston, and Kansas, filling it out. Some insight into this year's selection and bracket process. Joining us now is Bernard Buick, chair of the NCAA Men's Division I Basketball Committee and the director of athletics at Stanford University. First of all, congratulations to you. I asked you off camera, I'll ask you on. Was it everything you thought it would be? It was a tremendous week.
Yeah, so Nevada and Michigan.
Getting together, talking basketball, watching basketball, and then coming out with this bracket. Just a tremendous weekend. We're glad we're ready to kick it off.
Any hesitation at all about putting 3 teams out of the 4 in the same, from the same conference?
They earned their right.
So Gonzaga, Florida State.
Certainly with Duke and Zion back, phenomenal run here in the ACC tournament, and we thought both Duke, Virginia, and North Carolina were deserving on that one line. Looking at the Big Ten Conference Championship game today, how close perhaps was Michigan State? And
I've got Texas Tech in the Elite 8 with Gonzaga, and I'm going to put
great question.
Nevada.
They leapfrogged Kentucky by winning this game. They had so many.
I think Nevada is definitely a threat. It's Nevada and Texas Tech.
Michigan will be on that 2 line once the weekend unfolded.
Tell me about the Belmont conversation.
So Belmont's interesting.
I think Nevada's a very dangerous 7 seed. I'm torn between them and Texas Tech.
And we just thought that they were a phenomenal basketball team, very high on the offensive front, great offensive efficiency, and we thought that deserving they belong in the field.
And so that leads to my question.
So now we are down to 8, ladies and gentlemen. I did reveal the winner at the beginning, but try not to remember that. And before I reveal the Elite 8, I am going to list the play-in games, and I'm going to list the winners of those play-in games to build up the suspense in the March Madness bracket.
We're looking at the results of the deliberations. What was the tough part? What were the major hurdles that you guys got?
So, yes, because we have 8 teams, Duke, Maryland, Gonzaga, Texas Tech. We're going to start with the first game, NC Central and North Dakota State.
In the end, we ended up putting in a great field, and St. John's was the last team in.
One of the things that I know that we talked about before, when you visited us earlier, whether injuries and coaching situations affect the status of teams. Did they this time around?
We certainly discussed them, but we wanted to see how teams played out. So I can think of like LSU and Smart coming back. They were impressive. Certainly Zion at Duke and Ward at Michigan State. We were just trying to see, okay, exactly how are these teams going to play when these student athletes come back, and obviously they played really well and they played themselves into the field.
And as far as the power conference teams that were left out, Alabama, for example, had a win over Kentucky. Indiana had all kinds of injury issues. North Carolina State had a very high net rating, I think, in the low 30s, although bad conference strength of schedule. It seems to me in the past, the determining factor was a number of quality wins, but that maybe this year the multitude of losses more outweighed that. Is that fair to say?
That's totally fair to say. They had so many opportunities. What did they do with those opportunities? And in some cases, like at NC State, they had great opportunities in quad 1, but just did not win them. And so that was a concern for us.
What do you think Clark has been pushing, and actually so I said about the mid-majors and their prominence in the tournament? Do you feel that made strides?
Well, this year we had 11 conferences, a third of the overall 32 conferences that we have in Division I that had multiple teams in the bracket, and they were deserving, and we thought they belonged there. This is a high year for us. I think last 3 years it was nine conferences that had multiple teams. So we were fortunate. We had opportunities, especially that fell our way, that we could get more teams, deserving teams into the field.
Going back to Michigan State, talking about how they were solidly on the 2 line, is that a function of balancing the field in some regards in terms of looking at those top 4 lines and seeing where you can get really good solid strength across those?
Absolutely. And coming into the week, we thought there were probably 6 or 7 deserving teams, of which Michigan and Michigan State were considered for that 1 line. In the end, we thought, boy, there's only 4 spots available, and we thought
the teams that we put there were most deserving. Bernard, thank you. Thank you. Job well done. Appreciate it. We appreciate it too. NCAA tournament coverage begins with the first four on Tuesday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on True TV. Fairleigh Dickinson takes on Prairie View A&M. Belmont faces Temple on Tuesday, while North Dakota State gets NC Central, and Arizona State plays St. John's on Wednesday. First and second round action tips Thursday through next Sunday on CBS, TBS, TNT, and True TV. The Sweet 16 and Elite 8 will be on CBS and TBS. It all culminates in Minneapolis with the Final Four and the National Championship game here on CBS. We remind you, you can watch all NCAA tournament games on March Madness Live. And the selection show continues. The Final Four forecast. Mark and Seth predict the 14 head to Minneapolis. Will be wearing the glass slipper as well. All of that and much, much more after the break.
The NCAA Men's Basketball Championship Selection Show is sponsored by Capital One. What's in your wallet? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. Great taste, zero sugar. And by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing. World full of same old, lame old burgers? Well, hit reset because Wendy's made a whole new world with the new Made to Crave menu featuring the peppercorn mushroom melt, barbecue cheeseburger, and the salsa bacon cheeseburger. Try all three on the new Made to Crave menu today.
And with that, why don't you give us some insight from your days as a player?
I'm a happily married man now, Ken, so I hardly think those stories would be appropriate.
From your days as a basketball player, Phil.
Oh, heavens, why?
Those are boring.
Just okay is not okay, whether it's announcers or wireless networks. AT&T is America's best wireless network, according to America's biggest test. Now with 5G evolution, the first step to 5G. More for your thing. That's our thing.
It's a good thing you kept your fire extinguisher up to date. Don't worry about the smoke damage. I can help.
What did you do to your kitchen?
What did you do to my kitchen?
I ain't do nothing. It's easy to. That's not me. I can like he has a beard just like me. You know, like I mean, the beard is pretty dope. You know, honestly.
Are you serious right now?
That's not me.
James, that's you.
Is this your new car? It's a new vehicle vision. Like all the Wi-Fi for all of your Wi-Fi stuff. Wireless charging for your phone. Ooh, wait till you check out the back. It's a lot of groceries. Look at my strong man. Don't patronize me.
New Buick Envision is full of surprises. It's March Madness. Get a sweet 16% below MSRP on most of these Buick models. That's over $7,000 on this Envision Premium. World full of same old, lame old burgers? Well, hit reset because Wendy's made a whole new world with the new Made to Crave menu featuring the peppercorn mushroom melt, barbecue cheeseburger, and the salsa bacon cheeseburger. Try all three on the new Made to Crave menu today.
Thank you.
Oh, Chuck, what is that?
He's my bracket buddy.
Your bracket what?
He's my bracket buddy. He's my good luck charm for March Madness.
It's a parrot.
He's got a name. Larry Bird. He's gonna keep my bracket unbusted.
Hey,
Larry Legend.
hey, who's that?
My bracket buddy, Charles Barkley. Zip it, Larry Bird. Not you, Larry Bird.
Before the house, before the office, the late nights and new bosses. Before the last hugs, the wins and the losses. Before building a team, before building yourself, the rise and grinds, all day, every day. Before the letter, before the dream, there was a kid who loved to play. If you have the time and dedication to succeed in school and in sports, we'll provide the opportunity. Airstrikes, illnesses, CP returns. I make this call. We know how this plays out. CP, new CBS Wednesday.
From LeBron James, you ready to run? Comes the fiercest competition to ever hit the streets. Sounds like my kind of game. $1 million mile released March 27th.
UNBC makes history. The shocker of all shockers.
kind of all wanted to be in the One Shining Moment video. In the locker room, we're all singing the first line because that's all we know. But I think we're going to have to learn the rest of the song, too.
The NCAA tournament has been turned upside down.
UMBC's monumental upset of Virginia was the first and only time a 16 seed defeated a 1 seed. The 1 seed is now 135-1 against the 16. Number 2 seeds are 128-8 in first round matchup, while the 8-9 game is literally a coin toss, with each winning half of the games played. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's right. All right, let's run through the bracket one more time. Blue numbers to the right of the team's names are their overall tournament seed. Let's begin in the upper left, where Duke is the number 1 overall seed. Clark, in the East.
Yeah, you know, you look at Duke, and I think Duke gets to Minneapolis. They're an outstanding team playing at a high level. You take a look at some teams that I think could surprise. I like Liberty. I love the Liberty Flames. I like their balance. I like their three-point shooting and their defense. Mississippi State has been hot and cold defensively. They've got high-octane offense, but I like Liberty to grab an upset there in that 5-12 match.
And we talk about overall seeding mattering. Michigan State being the 6 instead of the 5 means that they are able to be paired with number 1 overall seed. And I think those two teams are on a collision course for the Elite 8. I think Virginia Tech is a team to watch, probably because they've already beaten Duke this season from the same conference, getting the point guard back. Of course, Duke did not have Zion Williamson for that game, but I'm the upset guy.
Yes, you are.
I'm normally very tame about picking upsets on television, but I'm going to give you Liberty to come out of that 12-5 game. The 12-5 spot is the one where over 75% of the NCAA tournaments, you see the 12 being a 5. I think that's what happens in here. But I also think that Belmont is going to beat Maryland and move on as well.
All right, let's move down the left side of the bracket, which is headlined by Gonzaga, the 1 seed in this region and number 4 overall.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Gonzaga gets to Minneapolis as well. I love the balance of this team. Getting Kelly and Tilly back should be helpful to them. Buffalo's a team that 6th seed is well earned and well deserved. They'll be challenged by whoever comes out of that Arizona St. John's game. But a Buffalo Texas Tech matchup is one I'm looking forward to. Murray State takes out Marquette.
Yes. Taking a 12 over a 5. I'll be a little bit more tame in this one. I like the Florida Gators to get by Nevada. That's going to be my upset special there. Florida lost a lot of close games in the SEC.
Yes.
They control the they're a good defensive team.
All right, let's jump to the top of the right side of the bracket, where Virginia is the number 2 overall seed and the team to beat in the South region as we start.
UC Irvine is the team that I like the best. The Anteaters to surprise Kansas State.
Are you saying Virginia's not going to make it to Minneapolis?
No, I had to be short this time. I only had a 10 seconds.
You're never going to be short.
You're never going to be short. I'm the short one here. Okay. I'm going to take for my upset special. I do like UC Irvine, not only to win that one, but I think they're a Sweet 16 team. And also Oregon is maybe the hottest team in the country right now. And I think they're going to beat a beat-up Wisconsin squad in that first.
And finally, we slide down to the lower right, where North Carolina is the 1 seed and 3rd overall.
And I've got Houston coming out of that region. If there's a team that could upset the apple cart, the Iowa State Cyclones have played really well to winning that Big 12 championship, but I've got Houston making their way to Minneapolis.
Greg wants me to take Iona to destroy what I've never left of my Craig Dumble. I'm not going to do it, Craig Dumble, but I will give you the Aggies of New Mexico State. I love teams that win. Winning is a habit. I know Auburn coming in hot, winning the SEC tournament, but I think the Aggies, and again, I think Kansas is limping to the finish line, and I think the Aggies have a great chance to beat the Jayhawks and be a Sweet 16 team.
Final 4?
My Final 4 team. Well, I got out of the East. We're going to have the Duke Blue Devils, and then they're going to beat Michigan State in the regional final there. In the West, I like Gonzaga to beat Texas Tech. In the South region, I'm going with the Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue, please, they haven't been in the Final Four since 1980. I'm begging you, get there. I think they will. And then Kentucky, and of course, we deserve a Duke-Kentucky championship.
We're going to have Iowa State in the Final Four, and we're going to put
other than the Houston Cougars, and I like Gonzaga to win it all.
Wow.
Well, we already discussed some double-digit seeds that could win. We'll see what turns out after the round of 64. There's bracket clusters. There's last year's Loyola team. Figure out who the heck is going to turn up a Cinderella this year. We really don't know. At least not yet.
That's it.
All right. We have an hour left on the bracket. We will get doing the business of the tournament. But coming up this week, we hope you will join us. Thanks for joining us here on the Selection Show. Selection Sunday coverage continues at the top of the hour over on on CBS Sports Network with NCAA March Madness bracket breakdown. That's at 7 Eastern, only on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 minutes on trip to Monaco, followed by new episodes of God Friended Me, NCIS Los Angeles, and Madam Secretary. That's tonight, only CBS. For Clark, for Seth, for all of us here at CBS Sports, Greg Devil. Thank you for joining me.
This is Nelson, the volunteer who puts care into everything he does. We asked him to put our hydrating body wash to the test.
After a long day, it's really important to have body wash that's cleansing and hydrating for my skin.
Dove Men Plus Care Body Wash rinses clean and rehydrates.
You guys want to get Subway? I'm in.
Dude, Subway has delivery.
Cool.
Can one father and son
Hopefully they'll take my son away.
help another through the unthinkable?
Trust me.
Little God Friended Me, CBS tonight.
Follow Reba McEntire to the ACM Awards live from Vegas, CBS April 7th. Hey, y'all.
3 new Nissans, 2 powerful hybrids, 1 award-winning lineup. Save big on all of it at Nissan now. No brand received more J.D. Power Initial Quality Awards for cars and trucks than Nissan. Save big on road with Safety Shield 360.
Low $239 per month Nissan Road. Or get 0% financing for 36 months on all models.
It's a Nissan, proud supporter of college athletics.
Five-star backyards, get me with brand pressure-treated. Doesn't have this yellow satin. You don't want it.
Fact is, every insurance company hopes you drive safely. But Allstate actually helps you drive safely with DriveWise. It lets you know when you go too fast and brake too hard. With feedback to help you drive safely, giving you the power to actually lower your cost. Unfortunately, you can't do anything about that. Now that you know the truth, are you in good hands?
For sleepy deprived teenagers, tomorrow at 5.
It was a weapon. Of course it was a weapon. An energy weapon. Absolutely.
What sort of energy is this that we're talking about?
I believe it's RF, radio frequency energy, in the microwave range.
Mark Lindsay is a State Department security officer who worked in the U.S. consulate in Guangzhou, China.
There is no shadow of a doubt in my mind that this is a directed attack against my neighbor and I.
His neighbor was Catherine Werner.
It was intense pressure on both of my temples, and I remember looking around for where this sound was coming from because it was painful.
Thank you.
Have a great tour. Steve Case is a billionaire with a bus on a mission, steering venture capitalists and their money to areas they've typically overlooked.
I started this company with only $500 in my pocket.
Places like this old church in Memphis have become the stage for entrepreneurs to pitch their products.
The winner of the pitch competition is Soundwaves.
And hope to get a share of Case's $150 million fund.
Monaco is a myth, and we live on it.
Monaco is Maseratis and martinis, maybe yachts, and a famous casino. Maybe tiny, but Monaco has more multimillionaires per square foot than any other country.
This was actually a lunch group.
Its ruler, Prince Albert, Grace Kelly's son, has seen it all.
I remember different parties and luncheons in the summer where they'd have Frank Sinatra, Kirk Douglas, Gregory Peck, combined.
It's nice to imagine Sinatra right here.
I'm Steve Croft.
I'm Leslie Stahl.
I'm Scott Pelley. I'm Anderson Cooper.
I'm Sharon Alfonsi.
I'm Bill Whitaker. Those stories tonight on 60 Minutes.
CBS Money Watch, sponsored by Lincoln Financial, helping you create a secure financial future.
Good evening. The Fed is expected to leave interest rates unchanged when it meets this week. Lyft hits the road tomorrow, seeking up to $2 billion from investors for its IPO. And Shake Shack tests a 4-day work week to improve employee productivity. I'm Ellen Quijano, CBS News.
Over. Hey, okay. Okay, go. Over. Oh,
Ensure he's well taken care of, even as you build your own plans for retirement. See how Lincoln can help protect your savings from the impact of long-term care expenses at LincolnFinancial.com. For more, go to CBSMoneyWatch.com.
Feel the clarity of non-drugs. Claritin play over 200 indoor and outdoor allergens, like those from Buddy, because stuffed animals are clearly no substitute for real ones. Feel the clarity and live Claritin Clear.
Forget injections and look up with number 7 Laboratories' new blood correcting booster serum. 76% injections can wait. Exclusively at Walgreens, Target, and Ulta. You eat healthy, take statins, but still struggle to lower your LDL bad cholesterol. You also have heart disease, and your heart attack or stroke could strike without warning, pulling you away from everything you love. Because with high LDL, your risk of a heart attack or stroke is real. Now you can reduce that risk with Repatha. Repatha plus a statin dramatically lowers your LDL bad cholesterol by 63% and is proven to significantly drop the risk of having a devastating heart attack or stroke.
Do not take Repatha if you are allergic to it. Repatha may cause serious allergic reactions. Signs include redness, severe rash or itching, swollen face or trouble breathing. Most common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like symptoms, back pain, high blood sugar, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site.
Don't let a heart attack or stroke come between you and everything you love. Tell your doctor you're ready to lower your LDL and reduce your risk for real with Repatha.
Pay no more than $5 per month with the Repatha copay card.
Mr. Grantham, this is OnStar. The police have your vehicle.
Thank you so much. New CBS Wednesday. Let's take them out before they know it.
Innocent lives are at stake.
That's oppressive. Take them out, sit down. It's a hard reality. Airstrikes, illnesses. If I make this call. This plays out. Routine returns. Wednesday on CBS.
In 2016 and 17, 25 Americans, including CIA agents who worked in the U.S. Embassy in Cuba, suffered serious brain injuries, causing impaired vision and memory loss, among other persistent symptoms. Now we've learned that at least 15 American officials in China suffered unexplained brain trauma soon after. The FBI is now investigating whether these Americans were attacked by a mysterious weapon that leaves no trace. Over many months, we have been collecting evidence of what appears to be a hostile foreign government's plan to target Americans serving abroad and their families.
For me, it was November of 2017 when I started to feel lightheaded a lot. I was getting more headaches. My wife was getting headaches too.
Mark Lindsay is a State Department security officer who worked in the U.S. consulate in Guangzhou, China. He says that he and his wife began to suffer after hearing strange sounds in their apartment.
Picture holding a marble. Then picture if you had like a 6 foot in diameter funnel, metal funnel, the sound that marble would make as it goes around, and then progressively gets faster as it goes down towards the hole at the end. It's a sound like I've never heard before.
Was this subtle? Like, did I hear that?
No, it was actually somewhat loud. I heard it about 3 or 4 times, always in the same spot, always over my son's crib, and always right before we would go to bed.
Lindsay wears prescribed glasses because sensitivity to light is among his persistent symptoms.
The symptoms were progressively getting worse with me. My headaches were getting worse. The most concerning symptom for me was memory loss, especially short-term memory loss.
Mark Lindsay believes he was targeted because of his work. He uses top-secret equipment to analyze electronic threats to diplomatic missions.
There is no shadow of a doubt in my mind that this was a directed attack against my neighbor and I.
His neighbor was Catherine Werner, who lived 1 floor up. She's a U.S. Commerce Department trade officer who promoted American business from the Guangzhou consulate.
I woke up in the middle of the night and I could feel the sound in my head. It was intense pressure on both of my temples. At the same time, I heard this low humming sound, and it was oscillating. And I remember looking around for where this sound was coming from because it was painful.
When did you first notice that you weren't feeling well?
October of 2017, I started to get hives all over my body, really bad hives. I woke up with headaches every day. I started to feel tired. The simplest things would just make me very, very tired.
Were these symptoms growing worse over time?
They were, yes. My symptoms would get so bad that I would throw up, or I would wake up with nosebleeds.
She says even her dogs were throwing up blood. Werner assumed her illness was connected to China's toxic smog. She didn't know it at the time, but her symptoms were the same that American officials in Havana had suffered since 2016. The U.S. embassy there is all but closed as a result.
We hadn't heard about what happened in Cuba. I mean, there were headlines in the news about hearing loss and attacks to our diplomats, but we didn't know the details.
Catherine Werner became so ill, her mother traveled from the U.S. to live with her.
She spent almost 3 months with me. During that time, she also got very ill, and she and I shared the same symptoms.
What sort of symptoms did your mother have?
Headaches and ringing in her ears. We also started to both have difficulty recalling words.
After reporting her experiences, Werner was medically evacuated to the U.S. for treatment. U.S. agencies, but Mark Lindsay has a theory.
This was a directed standoff attack against my apartment.
It was a weapon.
Of course it was a weapon.
An energy weapon.
Absolutely.
What sort of energy is this that we're talking about?
I believe it's RF, for radio frequency energy, in the microwave range.
A clue that supports that theory was revealed by the National Security Agency in 2014. This NSA statement describes such a weapon as a high-powered microwave system weapon that may have the ability to weaken, intimidate, or kill an enemy over time without leaving evidence. The statement goes on to say, this weapon is designed to bathe the target's living quarters in microwaves. The NSA disclosed this in a workers' compensation case filed by former NSA employee Mike Beck.
When you look back across your career, is there any incident that leads you to believe that it could be responsible for Parkinson's disease?
Yes.
In the 1990s, Beck and an NSA coworker were on assignment overseas. Years later, he says, they developed Parkinson's disease at the same time.
In 1996, a colleague of mine, Chuck Beck, and I traveled to a hostile country and worked there for about a week. And I can't say with the hostile country, the identity of it.
Because it's still classified.
Yes.
But it was not Cuba or China. You believe that you and Chuck Babette were attacked with this microwave weapon.
Yes. I had a pretty good working knowledge of the hostile country's intelligence services, what they do to people, what they have done, what their modus operandi is.
Mike Beck says more intelligence has come in recently, which he shared in a classified briefing with congressional investigators. Mike, you can't discuss any of these details because they're all classified, but in your opinion, does the new information that you briefed the House and Senate Intelligence Committee staff on in any way relate to what happened in Cuba and China?
It's relevant to the Cuba and China cases.
No one has officially confirmed that what Beck says happened to him is related to at least 40 Americans injured in China and Cuba. While Beck suffers from Parkinson's, the recent patients are being treated for the same kind of symptoms that doctors would expect from a concussion.
So follow my fingers.
Dr. Tina Shetty is Mark Lindsay's neurologist.
So Mark initially came to me reporting symptoms of headache, memory loss, sleep difficulties, emotionality, and irritability.
And what did you make of that in the early days?
I was very surprised. He did not have any history of any trauma or blow to his head, but he reported a constellation of neurologic symptoms which are characteristic of mild traumatic brain injury without any history of associated head trauma.
I still notice it, but that has improved when I did.
Exactly how their brains were injured is the subject of a study at the University of Pennsylvania's Center for Brain Injury and Repair.
Still slightly wobbly.
Dr. Shetty is not part of that study,
And align your knees.
but her patient, Mark Lindsay, is.
And now put your hands on your hips. The presumption is that something happened which caused a functional brain injury of widespread brain networks because he has symptoms to reflect a multitude of brain networks.
What Dr. Shetty describes mirrors the findings published so far by the University of Pennsylvania study.
They have said that our symptoms are exactly what they saw in Cuba, and that we have the full suite of findings that they have there.
Robin and Britta Garfield are among the 40 patients enrolled in the University of Pennsylvania study. Like Catherine Werner, Robin Garfield is a trade officer with the Commerce Department. He was posted with his wife and 2 young children in Shanghai.
I don't know when the sound started. I do know that it was for months on end.
I was sitting next to Robin, and something I felt like hit me from the left side. And at first it felt like an electric shock. And then it paralyzed me, so I was not able to move or speak.
It hit you so hard you felt like you were in danger in the room.
Yes.
They say the children suffered blurred vision and loss of balance. Your daughter was literally falling down.
Yes, she fell down multiple times that day.
We went on a walk, and she just fell on her face. It was very abnormal. She never does that. And then a second time, she completely lost her balance and just fell to the side.
Last spring, the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, confirmed the case of Catherine Werner. UPenn found her brain injuries matched the Cuba victims.
We had an incident in Guangzhou that the medical indications are very similar and entirely consistent with the medical indications that have taken place to Americans working in Cuba.
But for reasons that are unclear, the State Department is raising doubt about the other 14 China cases. The State Department's medical office sent Mark Lindsay this note that says, "We have reached the decision that your symptoms and findings do not correlate with the Havana cohort."
They tried to deny it, they tried to cover it up, they tried to minimize it.
Why would the State Department?
So Arizona State Sun Devils
Because we have such a large trade relationship with
So, yeah, we have our Elite Eight set, and Duke, Gonzaga, Tennessee, and Iowa State is going to be my Final Four.
Which does not explain his wife and children.
It is a very complicated geopolitical relationship between the U.S. and China. So that, to me, feels like why this determination is being made.
For your benefits to the State Department is an attack.
It has significant impact on our life, our finances, my career as well, likely. I have not been afforded time for my rehabilitation. Being classified as pre-existing injury means that I don't have access to paid leave. It also means that after 1 year, my medical bills will not be covered currently.
The China patients have the attention of at least one member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Jean Shaheen wrote Secretary Pompeo, "The group from China is increasingly feeling isolated and left behind by the State Department." The State Department declined an interview, but in a statement to 60 Minutes, it said, "We will continue to provide our colleagues the care they need, regardless of their diagnosis or the location of their medical evacuation." A State Department official told us that the Cuba patients are victims of an attack, but state hasn't made the same determination for the China patients. The department has asked the National Academies of Science to assist in the medical investigation. The FBI is also investigating. Intelligence sources told us that in addition to Cuba and China, Russia is a suspect. But if microwaves were used, the technology is not rare. It could be more than one country is using it. U.S. intelligence is still debating what caused the injuries. You were in harm's way and you didn't know it.
Exactly. I didn't know it, and I'm afraid that others may be in harm's way and may not know it. Yeah, I don't know what the future looks like for me, but I would do anything in my power to prevent this from happening to somebody else serving their country.
Americans are not the only ones who've been attacked. According to the Canadian government, 15 Canadians were injured in Cuba, including diplomats and their families.
How do you report on the invisible? Were there moments where you had doubts about what you were hearing?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, we can
Go to 60minutesovertime.com. Sponsored by Pfizer. Needles. Essential for pine trees, but maybe not for people with rheumatoid arthritis, because there are options, like an injection. Xeljanz XR, a once-daily pill for adults with moderate to severe RA for whom methotrexate did not work well enough. Xeljanz XR can reduce pain, swelling, and further joint damage, even without methotrexate. Xeljanz XR can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened in the stomach or intestines, serious allergic reactions, low blood cell count, higher liver tests, and cholesterol levels. Don't start Xeljanz XR if you have an infection. Your doctor should perform blood tests with Xeljanz XR and monitor certain liver tests. Tell your doctor fungal infections are common, and if you have had TB, hepatitis B or C, or are prone to infections. Needles. Fine for some things, but for you, one pill a day may provide symptom relief. About Xeljanz XR.
I want to get a bar put in over there. You know,
Volunteers, and
give me a bunch of quotes, check the reviews, and verify the credentials and qualifications. You can't expect your neighbors to do everything Home Advisor can. So just ask Home Advisor.
Duke Blue Devils, and the Tennessee, and Duke is my national champion. So I've got Duke over Tennessee. That is my bracket.
Blueberry dating site for people over 50.
When you retire, will you act or feel different? Or will you just be you, without the constraints of a full-time job? You can grow your retirement savings with Pacific Life and create the future that's most meaningful to you. Which means you can retire without retiring from life. Having the flexibility to retire on your terms, that's the power of Pacific. Ask your financial professional about Pacific Life today.
Touch shows how we really feel. But does psoriasis ever get in the way? Embrace the chance of 100% clear skin with Taltz, the first and only treatment of its kind, offering people with moderate to severe psoriasis a chance at 100% clear skin. With Taltz, 70% of people quickly saw a significant improvement of their psoriasis plaques. Don't use if you're allergic to Taltz. Before starting, you should be checked for tuberculosis. Taltz may increase risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, symptoms, or received a vaccine or plan to. Inflammatory bowel disease can happen with Taltz, including worsening of symptoms. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Ready for a chance at 100% clear skin? Ask your doctor about Taltz.
B is like knowing you were ever loved. Nothing of the world until he was accused of murder. CBS Monday.
For years, pundits have declared the United States has split into two Americas, a nation divided by politics, geography, and the economy. But one tech icon believes he can help even out the playing field. Steve Case, the man who co-founded America Online and injected the jingle "You've Got Mail" into the American lexicon, is now trying to steer venture capitalists and their money to areas they've typically overlooked, mostly small towns and cities in the middle of the country. His vehicle to do that is a $150 million investment fund and a 35-foot-long bright red bus. We joined the billionaire on his bus for a recent road trip.
All right, let's go.
And soon found ourselves aiming for the edge of a wheat field in Tennessee. Steve Case is here to meet a few entrepreneurs who say they've created a new technology that could revolutionize the way America farms. These robots are actually miniature tractors that are operated remotely.
What you're able to do is cut that travel time down to 1/3 and maximize productive time in the field.
The entrepreneurs are looking for a cash infusion from Case to jumpstart their business. Case is looking for the next big idea and is knee-deep in his quest.
Hard has it been for these guys out here to get the attention of?
Super hard. It's right now 75% of venture capital goes to 3 states, California, New York, and Massachusetts. Most of the venture capital is on the coast, not in the middle of the country. We just have to change that.
Tech behemoths like Amazon and Google have doubled down on big cities. But Case believes the best opportunities are off the beaten path. And that's where the bus comes in.
Thank you.
Great work. Case and his team are scouring the middle of the country, looking for promising ideas overlooked by Silicon Valley. They've traveled to 38 cities and 26 states, thousands of miles, often spending 12 hours a day on the road.
You're a successful guy. You've made a fortune. Why in the world do you want to ride around on a bus in the middle of the country for 12 hours a day, day after day?
Because I believe in these entrepreneurs. I believe in
You could believe in them from Washington, D.C. and send your people out, but you go there, you get on the bus, and you drive around. So why are you on the bus?
I want to get everybody on the bus. There are entrepreneurs like me all over the country. Most people are not paying attention to them. Most people in their communities don't believe in them. Most people on the coast don't think there's anything interesting, innovative happening in the middle of the country.
So convinced there is money to be made in the middle of America, Case raised $150 million to create what he calls the Rise of the Rest Fund. The rest referring to entrepreneurs in cities like Indianapolis, Detroit, and Birmingham, areas usually overlooked by venture capitalists.
If you care about this city, You have to invest in startups.
Today's stop, Memphis. I started this company with only $500 in my pocket.
Dozens of entrepreneurs have gathered in a dusty church to pitch Case and his team their ideas. Among the competitors, the inventor of a new headlight.
This technology converts the high beam into a low beam illumination.
The maker of a biodegradable medical device.
We are the first to encapsulate the benefits of honey, create a solid product, and deliver it as an implant to heal you internally.
And a former musician who has come up with a better way for fellow musicians to get paid for their work.
We've built an IMDb-style database for the music industry that helps give credit where credit is due.
Sweet bio?
Backstage, Case and his team quickly vote.
7.
Minutes later,
The winner of the pitch competition is Soundwave.
the winner gets $100,000 to grow their business. Pocket change for Case, but a shot of adrenaline for the city's struggling economy. The poverty rate in Memphis is almost 2 times the national average. Crime is rampant, and 30,000 people have left the city in the last decade.
Steve Case, how you doing?
Memphis is a hard sell to investors, and entrepreneurs have paid for it.
I realize that I spent a lot of time traveling around the country that most people in this country wake up in the morning anxious, fearful about the future. Fearful. They don't, because the things they see happening, mostly on the coast, are hurting their family, hurting their community. They see these Silicon Valley companies bragging about disruption. Sometimes that's code words for job destruction in their backyard. And that troublesome. They're losing jobs, not gaining jobs.
And do you feel that when you go there? Do you feel that they think we've kind of been forgotten here in the country?
They have been forgotten.
Yeah.
It's not about a feeling about being left behind. They have been left behind. We have to kind of level the playing field so everybody everywhere really does feel like they have a shot at the American dream. Right now, they don't.
J.D. Vance agrees. It's the reason he became Case's partner in the Rise of the Rest Fund. Vance wrote the New York Times bestseller, Hillbilly Elegy.
Do you still consider yourself hillbilly?
I certainly do. And it's the thing I'm proudest of.
Hillbilly in a blue blazer now.
Yeah, well, my wife dressed me, so you can talk to her about that.
Vance's book details his upbringing in Appalachia, surrounded by heartbreaking poverty, drug addiction, and instability. After a stint in the Marines, then earning degrees from Ohio State and Yale Law School, Vance began a career as a high-tech investor in Silicon Valley.
I definitely get
So Duke is the winner over Tennessee.
For parking, and they tell me they're changing the world. So I do think sometimes folks in San Francisco can drink a little bit too much of their own Kool-Aid.
Discouraged by so-called transformational technologies that weren't, 2 years ago, Vance moved back to Ohio to help run the Rise of the Rest Fund. He says many
I've got Duke over Tennessee, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy March Madness, guys. We'll be out. I'll have the link to this up later tonight.